Hi everyone, welcome back to the Creative Chicken Online. Today I'm working in my large Dylusions art journal and we're going to be using some acrylic paints from IndigoBlu to create a very simple lead background. Let's go. So to begin our background, I'm going to start with my first colour of acrylic paint. This is IndigoBlu's Park Lane. And I'm going to use a simple plain card to apply my paint. Now you could do this with a brayer if you have one handy, or if you don't have a plain card, an old business card, or even just cut a piece from a cereal box will do the job perfectly. So I'm just going to apply some paint along the edge of my plain card. I'm using a Pebeo silicone brush to do this, but you could just pop the paint onto your mat and drag your card through it if you like. So scraping my paint on there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the paint in quite regular shapes. So I want straight edged shapes. So there we go. Any angle I want can go on. I can have squares, I can have rectangles. I can overlap them a bit. Obviously my paint's running out there a bit, so I'm just going to simply go back in, apply a bit more paint onto my card, there we are, and then fill in some of these gaps. I think I quite like applying paint with the edge of a card. It's quite, I don't know, satisfying, I suppose. So I think that will just about do. Let me square this shape up a bit. I've still got a bit of paint left on my card. I'm not going to get rid of that because I'm going to use it later. So I'll just pop the card to the side. And then I'm going to get my heat tool out. Oops, dry this off and I'll come back to you in a moment. So I've dried off the blue and now I'm going to go in with my second colour, doing exactly the same. This time I'm using Olive Jacket from IndigoBlu. They do make some lovely colours of paint. Okay, and Alfie over at IndigoBlu. Apply some paint onto my card. And this time, doing exactly the same, I'm going to scrape on some of the green. I'm going to try and cover most of the white parts of the page with this colour, but I'm also going to make sure I overlap the blue in a few places. Not doing very well up there, but we can always just go in again and sweep it across. We'll take a bit across this way, I think. Down here. Starting to get a bit low on paint, so we'll pop a little bit more onto the card. And so down here. Now, I said at the beginning that I was trying to do quite regular shapes, but it doesn't matter if they're not perfect, because after all, this is art journaling. You know, we're not trying to make something precise. We're looking at layers and textures. Quite a bit of paint there, so I'm just scraping a bit off. And then I think we'll just go up this edge with a bit more green. I quite like how that's a bit more intense in that corner, which will work perfectly for something I'm going to do later. So there we go, that's dried off now. So I'm going to go back to the first colour I used, and if you remember I had some left on my plain card. If you don't, just pop some more out onto your mat. And I've picked up a piece of bubble wrap and I'm just going to spread that paint onto my bubble wrap, and then use my bubble wrap as a stamp on my page. So that's the blue dry, so I'm now just going to go and do exactly the same with my spare olive green paint. Spread it over my bubble wrap and then start pressing it and stamping it onto my page. So we're just building up layers and building up a bit of texture on the background of our page. Now my background's dry, I'm going to begin our focal point and we're going to draw an owl. Don't panic, I'm going to show you how to do it step by step. So for your owl, you're going to need a circle to draw around. So I've just picked up my favourite mug and I'm going to use the rim for my circle. And all I'm going to do is pop it on my page roughly where I want my owl to begin. Move them up a little bit. And I'm just going to draw a semicircle with pencil around the rim of my mug. I'm not sure if you'll be able to see this on camera. Again, it's pencil, so you can rub it out. Don't panic if you get it wrong. So I'm not sure if you can actually see that in the light there, but there is a semicircle around here. I'm then going to take my pencil, and from the edge of my semicircle, I'm just going to draw a line up to the height that I want my owl to be. So if you imagine, we're drawing up to where the top of his ears are going to be. So there we are, and hopefully you can see that again. If you find that you struggle to see the pencil, you could always draw this in chalk. Back to my trusty Mother of Dragons mug, and this time I'm going to the edge of where I drew those lines, and I'm putting my mug back on between the two lines, and I'm just drawing another semicircle, and this will give us our basic owl shape. So I don't know if you can see there, we've got a basic owl. So we've got his little tummy coming around here and up to his ears up at the top. That's a simple way to draw an outline. What we're going to do now is draw in his eyes. So I'm just going to look for some circles that will be around about the right size for my owl's eyes, and I think those pots will probably just about do it. So I like to have my owl's eyes coming up and over the edge of his head, nice big eyes. So there's one. Pop this pot on, try and line the bottoms up, we don't want him to be a wonky eyed owl. And around again with pencil, and there I have two nice big eyes. See, it's not neat, it's not perfect, it's just a guide for when we come to paint him in a moment or two. And before we do that, I decided that I would quite like a moon up in the top of my page, so I've just got another circle. This is just the lid off one of my spray paints. I'm going to pop that at the top, and I'm just drawing around that to give me the circle for the shape of the moon. So I'm going to start now painting in my owl, and to do this you can use either your acrylic paints or paint pens if you prefer. So I'm going to start painting in the body of my owl using my acrylic paints, and I think I'll go for this gorgeous Townhouse Teal from IndigoBlu to begin with. And it's very simply grabbing my brush and then going around those pencil lines that I've just drawn in to get the shape of my owl. So I'm going to paint in my owl, and then I'm going to come back to you and show you how to finish him off. So there we go, I've painted in the body of the owl with my IndigoBlu Townhouse Teal. I've used some white gesso to paint in his eyes, and now what we need to do is start to give him his extra bits, if you like. So we're going to start with the wings, starting around about halfway up the eyes. Just take your pencil and just come down and draw in a wing for your owl. Go over to the other side, come down and draw in the other wing. We're then going to go to the bottom of our page, and I'm going to decide how tall I want my owl. Do I want him to have really long legs? Do I want him to have short legs? And I'm just drawing stick legs down from the centre of my owl. Hopefully you can see that. I'm then going to go to the side of the page, and I'm just going to draw in a branch shape for my owl to sit on. And there we go. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. That will do absolutely fine. So that's where he's going to sit. He's got his wings. One other thing he needs, obviously, he's an owl. He needs a beak. So just a triangle between the eyes to form his beak. To paint in the branch at the bottom, all I'm going to use is a little bit of black gesso, simply because I don't have any black acrylic paint with me at the moment. We are on lockdown, so I can't go up to the studio and pick it up. And this black gesso will do fine. I actually really like Pebeo's gessos in black and white, and I use them quite a lot in my art journaling. So a little bit of black gesso, whoops, and just paint in my branch. For some strange reason, I shake when I'm trying to paint and yet I can draw with a very steady hand. Very, very strange. Okay, so I'm just going to finish this off with my black gesso. I'm then going to paint in his wings, and I'm going to paint the moon. So now most of my owl's painted in. I've used a bit of IndigoBlu Coastal Walk for his wings, and for the moon up here I've just picked up a cheap granite grey matte acrylic craft paint. I actually picked up in Walmart when I was in the States, but you get loads of these kinds of things in our local craft stores. So I'm now switching to my acrylic paint pens, and I'm just going to paint in his beak. And if you don't have acrylic markers, just go to your normal acrylic paints and a fine brush, and you can do all of this. Then I've decided the moon looks a bit flat, so I've picked up a silver acrylic paint pen that I've got. Give it a good shake, and then I think I'll just put some little bits of silver in a few areas just to give the moon a bit of a shimmer, a bit of a reflective glow in places. Now I'm just doing this quickly. Obviously you can take a lot more time and do this, and if you get your finger in while it's still wet, you can just soften that acrylic paint out a bit, and it just looks a little bit more natural. Okay, so that will do for that. Quick wipe off the fingers, and now what we need to do is start adding the detail to our owl. And to do that, I'll be using acrylic paint pens in black, and I'll also be using my good old trusty journaling pen. So starting with the eyes, excuse me, we'll put in some eyes now. Let me have a look. Have a think. We'll just give him this nice round central eyes. I was wondering whether I should be making him looking down at us or off to the side. I think this will do, just nice and easy and straightforward. Switching down to a slightly thinner black pen now, and I'm just going to go around the edges of the owl. Now I quite like to do my owls with tufted ears, so I do kind of go up and just put little tufts on them. And it's just a case of drawing around those pencil lines that you did earlier, and this will just make your owl stand out from the page. So now I've got the basics drawn onto my owl. I'm just going to give him some little details to give him a bit more character. So I think down here we'll give him some little tufts where his legs begin. Maybe some little knees. His little feet. I think we'll give him some eyelashes. Oh, maybe some on the bottom too. Now, if you don't have a black acrylic marker pen like this, you could always just use a Sharpie, and I'm sure that would do the job. So you've got some little feathers there now. We'll give him a little glint in his eye. I always think that really brings your characters to life, just that little spot of white. Okay, so there's our little owl virtually done. I want to add some detail to the branch down the bottom, so I'm just going to add some white marks to create almost like a knot effect and bring that branch to life. And nothing too detailed, that's enough. So I've decided on my quote, and I'm simply going to write that on with my POSCA. This is a 3M. Once I've got my quote all written out onto my page, I've simply finished the page off with a scribbly border all the way around. Hope you've enjoyed crafting with the Creative Chicken today. Please give us a thumbs up if you've had a good time, and we hope to see you again soon.